With the sevens, we're moving from that balanced energy of the sixes on the middle pillar over across to where the seven is, Netzach. They can be tricky cards. They're very much, you've gone from the sixes where you can rest on your laurels for time, but then the real challenges start with the sevens. But before we do that, let's see what Crowley says about the Naples arrangement for the sevens. He says it's the point idea of bliss, Ananda. Now, so we've just gone to the central point of the six, and we're just going down the tree of life again. The seven, the 8, and the 9. So he's saying for the 7 it's Ananda, the 8 is Chit, and being is Sat. So what he's using is Sat Chit Ananda, which is an aspect of consciousness. It's called absolute bliss consciousness, by the way. So he's saying that this is the next stage. It's a kind of interesting way of looking at things. Bliss probably is to do with Venus. Thought is definitely the mind and Chit. Chit means mind stuff, things going on. And being is Sat, and he's used that for the point of 9, which is a kind of an interesting thing, because 9 is Yesod. If the tree of life was a person, the 9 would be at the genitals. So it's a kind of interesting kind of thing he's saying there. So what we have, the sevens, who do we have here? So now, this is the last decade of the central zodiac signs between the equinoxes and the solstices. So things are starting to fall down. They've gone from the central pillar, falling down, and also in terms of the last decade, because that's where the energy degrades. Okay, they're turning into preparing for the next stage. So for the 7 of Wands, we have Valor. Okay, and you can see Mars at the top there. That's ruling the decadence of Leo. So there's a kind of aggressive energy that's going on here. For the 7 debauch, not such a good picture. Okay, and that is Venus ruling the last decade of Scorpio. Scorpio is the planet of sexuality and these things, and Venus as well, so things are getting a little bit dodgy. The 7 of Swords futility is the moon ruling the last decade of Aquarius. It's the fluctuation that's going on here with the sevens make things very unstable, and there's a kind of lack of enthusiasm or appetite for things as well. And then for the 7 of Dis, it gets worse. Failure. It's the Saturn in Taurus, heavy card. Taurus is heavy, the Earth. Saturn is a heavy sign. Things are really gutty and heavy. So let's see what Crowley sort of analyses the whole kind of thing. So for the sevens, so these are attributed to Netzach. The position is doubly unbalanced off the middle pillar and very low down on the tree, as we said. It is taking a great risk to ascend so far into illusion, above all to do it by frantic struggle. Now, you have to understand is that the idea with the tree of life is you start from Malkuth and work up to the 9, the 8, and the 7. And then to the 6, which is kind of like a big position, a depth of mine or something like that. So we've been doing things going from the top down to the bottom. So he's talking about this is a descent into illusion, and there's a big struggle. Netzach pertains to Venus. Netzach is also to Earth. And he says the greatest catastrophe that can behold before Venus is to be close to her heavenly origin. The 4 sevens are not capable of bringing any comfort. Each one represents the degeneration of the element, which is how I've been describing. This is when it's about the degeneration of the element, he's talking about in terms of the decadent system. Its utmost, its weakness exposed in every case. You know, things are gutty. They're not doing too well. So when we get to the 7 of Wands, we'll start with that one again. The 7 of Wands is called Valor. Energy feels itself at its last gasp. It struggles desperately and may be overcome. This card brings out the defect inherent in the idea of Mars. Patriotism, so to speak, is not enough. So there's a technical inability to actually get things done. But I mean, in readings, you know, when the Seven of Wands comes, there is, you know, you kind of have to give a bit of kidology and say, yeah, you can do it with this one. You can overcome these things. It's the final kind of hurdle. Because if you go up the tree, because remember, we're going down, it's like disaster. But if you're trying to go up, because you're going to go up from the sevens, you get to the sixes, which is, you get a bit of respite and you speak to Holy Guardian Angel and you get a pat on the back, well done, clever boy, time for the next bit. So, but we're not, we're going downhill. So the Seven of Cups is debauch. This is one of the worst cards that one can have. Its mode is poison, it's golden madness. It represents the delusion of delirium tremens and drug addiction. It represents the sinking into the mire of false pleasure. There's something almost suicidal in this card. Not cheerful, is it? It is particularly bad because there is nothing whatsoever to balance it. No strong planet to hold it up. Venus goes after Venus and Earth is churned into the scorpion morass. Probably Diary of a Drug Fiend might be a good thing to read on this card. You know, in the context of doing readings with the opening of the key spread, where there's always other cards balancing things, the Seven of Cups is not that good, but it's not usually as bad as he describes it. However, I can be disproved on these things. So then we come to Seven of Swords Futility. This is yet another weaker card than the Seven of Wands. So the Seven of Wands is the best card of the bunch here. It has a passive sign instead of an active one, a passive planet instead of an active one. It is like a rheumatic boxer trying to come back after being out of the ring for years. You know it's going to end badly, don't you? Its ruler is the moon. The little energy that it possesses is more than dream work. Is no more than dream work. It is quite incapable of the sustained labour which, done by miracles, can bring any endeavour to fruition. The comparison with the Seven of Wands is almost most instructive. So this is kind of using the mind energy as opposed to the physical energy of the Seven of Wands. Remember, if you're going the other way up, then futility is keeping on going when you have no inspiration, but you just do it anyway. Okay, it's that kind of it's that point in the marathon where you run out of energy and the pain's kicking in everywhere and there's another 8 or 9 miles to go. It's that hurdle, that barrier that you have to go through. But this is the mental barrier that's going on here more than anything else. So if the mind can actually overcome these things with the Seven of Wands, because the emotional stuff isn't going to help you, okay, then you can overcome things. And finally we come to failure. Seven of Discs. Oh, a miserable card. This suit gives the extreme of passivity. There's no positive virtue in it below the abyss. This card is ruled by Saturn. Compare it with the 3 other sevens. There's no effort here, not even dream. The stake has been thrown down and it has been lost. That is all. Labour itself is abandoned. Everywhere, everything is sunk and lost. Yes, that doesn't match up with where he says about the poet's idea of bliss. So there's an illusionary aspect to things because we're below self-realization. The sixes and Tippereth, we haven't, you know, if you're going back up, we haven't yet got to that self-realization point. So this is that we're in the fool's paradise. They're thinking if we take drugs, performance-enhancing drugs in athletics, or drugs for recreational use, shall we say, or something like this, it's a kind of the illusion that that's going to sort your problems out, and of course they won't. So, you know, as I say, when we're looking at these things, you know, it's instructed to go this way, then you have to kind of go back up the tree and see how different kind of picture. So, Sat, Chit and Nanda for Crowley, and even though it's a wonderful concept, it's something I learned when I was a teenager, basically, and it's a brilliant kind of thing. It's not true. So, if Venus in the emotions can't hack it, let's see if Mercury can do it with the 8s and Hod.